Greetings, welcome to a quick example of how to use libraries, create libraries, share libraries, and then use libraries in AppLab using some JavaScript. We'll flip back and forth a little bit, but this is an example of actually creating a library. So I've already created a couple of functions for my library for geometric functions. So get the area, get the volume, really basic stuff, but what if we want to step up the level and actually get something more complicated? So I'm going to leave these in here, but I'm going to add one more function for that. I'm also in this going to kind of show you an example of like an app that might work very well with these and show you what you can do and how much code you can save if you actually have these libraries, or you can find someone else's library. So in our case, we are going to go find the hypotenuse. I can't say I said it wrong. Of a triangle, right? That's going to be, we're going to use this equation, so we'll come back to this. So we're going to find it. So first, let's go ahead and pull in our function down here. Now we're going to need to add some notes to it, some comments. So I'll throw a couple of those in there as well. And I'm going to do some very, very basic comments for this as we go through. But let's start building it first, then we'll go through the comments. That'll kind of help understand what I'm asking for. So this is going to get the hypotenuse, right? So get hypotenuse, just like we did get volume, get area. So this is a function, that's the name of it. We need to take two inputs, right? We need to take side A and side B. So side A and side B. That's what we need to do it. So in this case, what I've done in examples, you don't have to do it this way. You could, in theory, all do it in the return. But for readability, I'm going to create variables to hold the actual result of it. So I go to variables, var x, and this x is actually be the hypotenuse, right? That was actually the wrong one. We want the one where it defines it as well. So now we need to look at this equation because we need some setup, right? There's some setup to this. So we need to do the square root of a squared plus b squared, right? Because the whole equation is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, since c squared, you have to go ahead and square root the other side in order to actually get that to work. So we can set this up. So I have some of this already, so that we got the math square root, and then a squared plus b squared, so let's get that plus in there. And then we need the squared, so we're going to pull one math, and then I'm going to grab the other math. And then we should be able to get rid of that console log for now. And that was just so I know how to spell it. So unfortunately, we get this a lot. I don't know why there's no scroll bar for it, but you can minimize this to get you access to it. So this is side A, right? So a squared. So side A, and then it's not cubed, so let's change that to squared. And then side B, and it's squared as well. So the square root, that's the square root of a squared plus b squared equals hypotenuse. And now we're going to return that value. So now we do need to go back here and actually return the value and return hypotenuse. Now we can test this real quick. So let's go ahead and console log it, so we can test to see if our theory is right. And let's go ahead and just pull this function in. So we'll just pull the function in, get, so I'll just spell this a million times, two of these, and then let's just say this is 5 and this is 5. So A is 5, B is 5. In theory, this should be our answer. So we go back over here. We're setting 5 and 5. Again, this is how parameters work. So also as a reminder and review of parameters, we're running this function, we're setting 5 and 5, it's going to square 5, it's going to add it to 5 squared, and it's going to do the square root of that, which as you can see was approximately 7.07. So when we run this, 7.07. So our formula is correct. Our formula is correct. We've created what we need. So I'm going to pull this off because we just want the functions, right? We just want this version. Now I'm going to use show text real quick because my comments were not where I wanted them to be. And I'll just go ahead and write this in this. So we're going to get the, and of course now hypotenuse is no longer in there, so we're going to get that. And then it's going to take, oops, got caps lock on, take side A and side B as numbers and returns the hypotenuse. So basically it's going to do the formula for this. Show blocks again, so we're going to see what it looks like. We got our comments, get area comments, get volume comments, get hypotenuse, and now we have these functions that can be used. So let's demonstrate this being used. First, well, I guess first let's share it. So share, and then share as library. Share as library. It takes whatever you have named and then puts it in together. So I'm going to go ahead and call this. I've already started, so it's gonna. Mine's already filled in. I've already published this once. So check that out. And then you want to, now that you can see these are the two I already had published, so I'm just going to select all. So it throws that last one in there. And now I can, what you would do is publish if this is your first time. Otherwise, I'm going to update mine. So now it's updated. I might need to refresh this one real quick. So this is the actual app. So this has none of that code. All it has is, home screen wasn't the right one. It wasn't my first one I did. So I set the screen home, which is going to start us here. And then we can either do the area and volume or what we just did. And you can see that's these two on events. It's just this takes you to one, this takes you to other. So if we look at the area, which is what I've already kind of done, I've processed some of this, length, width, and height. So if you want to get the area, you put in the length and the width, click area, and it'll spit it out down here. If you want the volume, you put numbers in each of those, click volume, and it'll still spit it out down there. Although the only thing programmed on this app so far is the area, so if you click the length and the width, it'll spit out the area, which is what this event feature does. Now I'm going to show you real quick how, again, there's some code down here, but all it is this line 10. So all of the code is here. All of the things we need to do whenever we need to do it, it's all over here. And what I've done is I've put it all on here. So let me collapse this a little bit. So set text. We're going to set the text of the area. As you can see down here, it's empty. With design, you can see a little bit better down here. You can see a little arrow. But there is a label down there. So we're going to set the text of that, the area, volume, output. And then we're going to run. So I guess I'll show you the toolbox real quick. So when we go to functions now, we have the get area and the get volume. I think I might need to update the library in a second, but we got the get area, the get volume. So it's geometric functions dot get area. So that get area is this function. The geometric functions is the library that we created. That's a library I just created. You can see it has my notes over there in the blue. So all I did was I dragged that over. And remember, it takes the length and the width. It takes the length and the width, and it returns the area. So I was able to just put the function here, and therefore, when it returns the area, it's going to put the area in here. So let's go and run it, and then I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go ahead and put 5 times 5. We should get 25. When I click area, it sticks 25 down there. Again, it takes this and this, and we can see that mostly get the number of the length input, and over there is get the number of the width input, so length times width, and it sends it over here. That's the beauty of the library. It sends it over here, length and width, calculates it, 25, returns the area. This whole entire function is 25, and that's the output. Now, I can show you this, and this is why sometimes we write stuff neater, and I showed you all those variables in here. Again, this is all one line. But I scroll down here, this is exactly the same function. Area button, click, get the number of the length input, set it to a variable, get the width input, set it to a variable, L and W. So we're going to send L and W, which in this case is this particular length and width. But we're going to use L and W not to confuse us with this. And then var area. So it's going to take that. Remember, it returns the area, so we're going to set it to the area. And then it outputs it. So all of this code is exactly the same as this. Exactly the same as this. It's just a little bit neater, so we can see we're getting the input, we're sending it to L, we're getting the other input, sending it to W. This geometric function is that geometric function, but we're also going to send that to a variable. So when we actually do our set text, all we do is area, which is exactly the same as what's happening up here. So I wanted to kind of point that out of why we have these libraries and what you can do with a library when you set it up correctly with code, exactly what's going on. We can actually see the text in here, very, very similar to what it looks like with the blocks. But that is the basic setups of all of this. So if you wanted to bring in the library, you can manage libraries. So there's a cog up here, manage libraries. I already have these two I added, so what I'd probably have to do, yeah, it lets me update. It realized that's update, so I'm going to update it. Update, and now I should have access to that new, update the whole page. We go back to functions, and now you can see that new one with site A and site B is there. So if I were to go over to this screen, I could write this exact same thing. I do have a output down there, so I could go ahead and get the A side, B side, just like I did with this function here. Get the input of A, get the input of B. It will output C, and we can then find that output and set the text of it. So basically, once all said and done, what's on 9 through 11, I repeat that for volume button. However, I have to send one more thing for that one, and then I create another on event for this button, which takes A, B, and spits out C. And then I could also go back and finish the rest of these, and I can get side A, get side B, create two more functions, and then if I put A and C in, I can solve for B, and then I'd have to create two more buttons, get side A, get side B, and then still all spit out the same thing. So again, this is hopefully a good example of a library in use, creating a library, sharing a library, pulling in the library, and then, like I said, using the library. And hopefully you found this useful for libraries, and then get a good review of using parameters and returns. Have a good one. We'll see you next lesson.